Teachers have served the nation with great dedication. Immediate action to tackle online scams. Well, salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight with me, Muhammad Amin Carlos. Now, the contributions of teachers in educating and moulding the next generation of leaders is monumental and must be appreciated by all levels of society. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said although there were one or two cases of misconduct in the profession, they are not an overall representation of the country's hundreds of thousands of teachers. Well, he said the passion of teaching needs to be reflected in everyone's conscience with love, adding that if there are reports of misconduct involving one or two teachers, it does not represent the hundreds of thousands of teachers. However, he said among the many teachers, there are bound to be offenders, and that is why the media must be fair, as the majority of teachers have served with dedication. Well, he said this at an appreciation event for Negeri Sembilan teachers in Seremban today. Caretaker Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Aminuddin Harun and Education Minister Fadlina Siddiq were also present. At the function, Datuk Seri Anwar also presented the 2023 Negeri Sembilan Madani Teacher and Madani Education Leaders Awards. A proposal to increase the study hours for the lessons on reproductive health to raise awareness among pupils and students will be submitted to the Cabinet. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, after chairing the second meeting of the National Social Council for 2023 today, said the Council was informed of the alarming rate of social activities among teenagers as young as 13 years old.
Apabila perlakuan seksual telah bermula seawal usia 13 tahun. Dan ini memerlukan beberapa tindakan antara kementerian. Antaranya ialah menambahkan waktu pembelajaran mengenai reproduktif. Ini bagi menimbulkan kesedaran kepada murid dan pelajar-pelajar mengenai kesalahan melakukan perlakuan seksual dan kesan-kesan yang akan menimbulkan kebejahatan sosial sebagaimana yang.
The Deputy Premier added that the proposal will be presented to the Cabinet soon by Women, Family and Community Development Minister Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri so that drastic measures can be implemented to tackle the problem. He said the problem is very worrying and it is certainly not a political issue but a real social problem, and it is important to find a way to stop it. On another note, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid also said the National Social Council will urge the Cabinet to take immediate action to tackle online scams that have caused victims to lose nearly 1 billion ringgit a year, adding that measures are urgently needed to prevent it from causing a bigger social problem.
Jemaah Menteri akan minta untuk memberikan pertimbangan kerana bahagian siasatan jenayah komersial PDRM memerlukan bukan saja perjawatan tetapi peralatan canggih dan terkini untuk melakukan pemantauan terhadap penipuan di atas talian. Untuk itu kita merasa tindakan segera mesti dilakukan. Dan kita harap tidak akan berlaku lagi pemangsaan kepada aktiviti scam ini kerana ianya akan menimbulkan permasalahan sosial yang cukup besar, dan jika perkara ini tidak diatasi segera ianya akan melibatkan penipuan di atas talian yang menghampiri 1 bilion ringgit 1 tahun. Ya.
Besides that, the Deputy Premier added that the Council have also agreed that Bank Negara Malaysia should instruct banks to provide facilities for persons with disabilities in stages. Well, 4 men and a woman were freed of drug trafficking and possession charges by the Aikro High Court today. Now, Judge Muhammad Razi Abdul Hamid reached the decision after the prosecution failed to prove a prima facie case against Muhammad Nizam Makhzan, Nur Shahira Hamraj, Hairuddin Ramli, Muhammad Hilmi Rosli and Dermawan Muhammad at the end of the prosecution's case. Now, delivering his judgment, Muhammad Razi said the prosecution did not submit any clear evidence to corroborate the alleged presence of the accused at the coffee table of the house where the drugs were found to show that the accused had the intention to possess and distribute the illegal substances. The 5 friends were jointly charged with trafficking 166.24 grams of methamphetamine and also faced 3 counts of possessing heroin, monoacetylene morphines, ketamine at a house in Malacca Tengah about 1 a.m. on the 22nd of March 2018. Now, the trafficking charge was filed under Section 39, subsection B, subsection A of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, which is punishable by the death sentence upon conviction. Now, prosecution was conducted by Deputy Public Prosecutor Nur Aziza Yusof, while lawyers Maka Kyong, Tiu Leong Kim, Datu Hanif Hassan, Azrul Zulkifli Stork and Andrew Lut represented the 5 accused. The prosecution had called in 11 witnesses to testify during the proceedings. Typhoon Doksuri leaves 7 dead in the Philippines and over 26,000 displaced. Well, at least 7 people have died and more than 26,000 displaced in the Philippines due to Typhoon Doksuri. Well, Doksuri moved off the Philippines on Thursday morning and was headed across the Taiwan Strait to southeastern China, according to the Weather Bureau. Now, it is expected to make landfall over Fujian province on Friday, and the typhoon had weakened and was now packing maximum sustained winds of 150 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 185 kilometers per hour. The National Disaster Agency said 5 people were killed in floods and landslides, while police and local authorities tallied 2 more fatalities. Now, 1 person was killed in northern Isabela province after being hit by a falling coconut, according to the provincial governor. The National Disaster Agency said a total of 328,356 people in 31 provinces were affected by the typhoon, including 26,697 residents forced to flee their homes. Doksuri knocked out power in most of the affected areas, while dozens of flights were cancelled and sea travel suspended, leaving thousands stranded. In Taiwan, 1 person was killed in an accident in a swollen river in eastern Hualien County. Well, Taiwan's armed forces conducted a large-scale anti-landing drill on a beach near the major Taipei port just outside the capital on Thursday, despite occasional rains and winds brought by passing Typhoon Doksuri. Now, hitting at China's military posturing towards Taiwan, President Tsai Ing-wen, who oversaw parts of the exercise, called for increased drills and planning amid Taiwan's ever more complicated future threats and challenges. The exercises simulated the repulsion of an enemy force with ground troops and tanks amid high military tensions with neighboring China. Now, parts of Taiwan's main annual Han Kuang exercises and air raid drills that started on Monday were disrupted by the storm, as authorities cancelled some exercises, citing safety concerns and the need to make preparations for the typhoon. Named Wan An, which translates to everlasting peace. The 4-day exercise ending on Thursday is aimed at raising civilian awareness of what to do in an air raid. It involved a 1-minute 30, or rather one-off 30-minute drill in every major city across the island, including the capital, Taipei.
Memulakan langkah pertama memerlukan 1000 kekuatan. Langkah seterusnya memerlukan nekat dan juga keyakinan. Namun kita harus sokong dan bantu mereka kerana kepulihan itu pasti.
Aaron Wuyik overpower Indonesian rivals at Japan Open. Stay with us. Well, world champions Aaron Chia and Sohua Yik brushed aside their Indonesian rivals Bagas Maulana and Muhammad Shoibul Fikri 21-12, 21-10 in the Japan Open today, but it was game over for Zi Yong. Now, Zi Yong fell 21-17, 21-14 to Japan's rising star Koki Watanabe, who had won the Swiss Open in March.
Aaron and Woo Yik's progress into the quarterfinals was heartwarming as fans hoped to see them bounce back from their last 16 exit at the Korea Open last week. World number 4, Aaron and Woo Yik will take on Japan's world number 5, Takuro Hoki and Yugo Kobayashi on Friday for a spot in the semis. Aaron and Woo Yik are the only Malaysian pair left in the men's doubles draw. Compatriots Ong Yu Sin and Teo Yi Hee and Go Zifei and Nur Izzuddin were eliminated on Thursday. Aaron and Woo Yik have recorded 2 wins from 7 encounters against Takuro and Yugo, with the Japanese pair winning the last 4 encounters. The last time the 2 pairs met was during the Malaysia Open semi-finals in June last year.
Well, Malaysia may have avoided the group of death, but still face an uphill task after being drawn with Oman and Kyrgyzstan in Group D of the second qualifying round of the 2026 World Cup 2027 Asian Cup in November. Now, in the draw conducted at the Asian Football Confederation or AFC House in Bukit Jalil today, the winner of the playoff between Taiwan and Timor-Leste in October will also join Group D.
Based on the world ranking, Oman are the highest ranked at number 73, followed by Kyrgyzstan 97, Malaysia 136, Taiwan 153, and Timor-Leste 192. None of these teams have ever qualified for the World Cup.
Strong ourselves. We need a very strategic approach to this stage.
The Harimau Malaya, under the guidance of head coach Kim Pan-gon, created history last year when they ended a 42-year wait to qualify on merit for the 2023 Asian Cup. Only the top 2 teams from each group will book a spot in the 2027 Asian Cup finals and compete in the third qualifying round of the 2026 World Cup. The bottom 2 teams from each group can still earn a place in the Asia Cup finals via round 3 of the qualifiers.
Well, a second-half goal from co-captain Lindsay Horan allowed the United States to battle back for a 1-1 draw against the Netherlands in a thrilling Women's World Cup Group E match on Thursday. Now, the fiercely fought rerun of the 2019 final lived up to its billing as the Dutch enjoyed the ascendancy in the first half before hanging on when the Americans found their groove in the second.
The Dutch struck first through a fine shot from midfielder Jill Root in the 17th minute, and the US went in at halftime trailing in a World Cup match for the first time since 2011. Horan answered for the 4-times champions from a Rose Lavelle corner in the 62nd minute, making a great run to the near post to power an unstoppable header past Dutch goalkeeper Daphne van Domsela. The Americans had not drawn a World Cup match since 2015 and will rue a slow start to the game as well as an inability to take the chances at the end.
It didn't finish the way we wanted to finish. I thought it was a very good match for our team, especially for a group of young players. They grew throughout the game individually, but also as a team we grew throughout the game as well.
The US remain top of Group E on goal difference from the Dutch heading into their final match against Portugal next Tuesday. However, the Netherlands will be confident of erasing that advantage when they take on Vietnam at the same time.
Well, in tennis, Stan Wawrinka marched into the second round of the Croatia Open with a 6-3, 6-2 win over Austrian qualifier Filip Misolic on Wednesday. Now, Wednesday's match marked the first time the 38-year-old had competed at the clay court event since 2007.
Wawrinka was in impressive form as he defeated Austrian qualifier Misolic to advance to the second round of the Croatia Open at the ITC Stella Maris in Umag. Competing at the ATP 250 clay court event for the first time since 2007, the 38-year-old won 77% of his first serve points to advance after 63 minutes. It is the Swiss second tournament since being knocked out of the Wimbledon by Novak Djokovic earlier this month. Wawrinka, seeded 7th, who lifted the trophy in Umag in 2006, will next play Federico Coria. The day's final match between number 1 seed Jiri Lecheka and Austria's Dominic Thiem was cancelled due to rain and rescheduled for Thursday.
Dan bola sepak Liga Super 2023. Pertembungan sengit terus menggegar aksi perlawanan dalam memburu tahta kejuaraan. Sabtu 29 Julai, Johor Darul Takzim bertemu Selangor FC 8.30 malam di saluran OK dan saluran Sukan RTM. Saksikan juga secara pensterima langsung di RTM Klik.
Esports and gaming, then be sure to stay tuned to RTM because something new is coming.
Coming up next on our business segment, Malaysia aims for top 30 largest economies in 10 years. Well, Malaysia aims to elevate its economy to be among the world's top 30 largest in less than 10 years from number 37 in 2022 based on World Bank data by focusing on greater regionalization and competitiveness, prioritizing economic complexity and moving up the value chain.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the main focus is on economic restructuring towards making Malaysia an economic leader in Asia.
Dengan demikian, kita mampu mencapai sasaran yang ditetapkan untuk muncul sebagai 30 ekonomi terbesar di dunia dalam jangka masa sederhana. Jika kita hanya berpuas hati dengan keadaan sekarang, ekonomi akan mencatat pertumbuhan antara 4 hingga 5%. Namun, jika kita berusaha gigih melaksanakan pembaharuan, kita mampu mencapai 5.5%. Malah saya percaya adalah tidak mustahil untuk dalam jangka masa pendek kita menghasilkan pertumbuhan bagi negara Malaysia 6%.
Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said that to realise the target, Malaysia must develop greater economic integration with its neighbours, especially with the world facing supply chain disruption. Hence, the Premier noted that it is important to create more highly competitive local companies to penetrate the ASEAN market. He said this at the launch of the Madani economy, empowering the people in the nation's capital today.
Well, the government will focus on efforts to improve the self-sufficiency level, or SSL, and strengthen food security. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said it included increasing the area under crop cultivation, but optimizing the use of existing farmland as well.
Meningkat daya tahan sektor agro makanan melalui aplikasi teknologi pertanian. Ini termasuklah pendekatan pertanian regeneratif yang mampu berdaya tahan mengikut daya tahan iklim serta penggunaan teknologi AI.
In order to support the local food industry to increase production, Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also the Minister of Finance, said a total of 200 million ringgit has been allocated under AgroBank to help provide financing facilities, especially for the application of modern agricultural technology. Well, apart from this, the Premier said the government has announced a commitment to improve the irrigation infrastructure in the areas of the Muda Agricultural Development Authority, MADA, in Kedah and Perlis to increase their productivity productivity of rice production to 5 seasons within 2 years, involving infrastructure worth 3 billion ringgit. He said Malaysia is rich in natural treasures and has the oldest forests in the world, and the plantation sector and downstream industries are important sources of the economy, but the approach on land use needs to be reassessed.
On another note, the Premier said affordable childcare centres will be set up in a move to get more women to join the labour force. Now, announcing this as one of the initiatives of the care economy, he also said that the government would allocate 10 million ringgit to facilitate the licensing of unregistered nurseries and childcare centres in the country.
Industri hiliran minyak dan gas.
Dato Sri Anwar noted that the rate of participation of women in the labour force was at a low 55.5% and should be raised to 60% for Malaysia to be more comparable in terms of the regional economy. He added that comparatively, the rate of participation of men in the labour force is 80.9%. The Premier said efforts in terms of the legal and regulatory aspects, as well as support programs, are needed to encourage mothers to return to work and bridge the gender divide in the labour market.
Ini termasuk umpamanya isu-isu sistemik kerja-kerja penjagaan tanpa gaji, diskriminasi jantina serta dasar sokongan keluarga.
Dato Sri Anwar also said that the government would expand the social safety net with 3 pillars to safeguard the people in the event of undesirable incidents.
Atas izin dan kehendak Allah.
Well, Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM, and the Securities Commission, or SC, have been taking steps to ensure the sustainability and effectiveness of the Islamic finance system by raising the standards to not only halal, but also halalan toyiban, or also known as lawful and good.
Dato Sri Anwar said BNM and the SC have charted the course towards halalan toyiban via the Malaysia International Islamic Financial Centre through collaborations with the industry and the Islamic finance ecosystem, including zakat and wakaf boards, the banking system, Islamic stock market and sukuk.
Gross domestic expenditure. Usaha ini akan tentunya ditambah dengan venture capital, equity, crowdfunding dan ekonomi digital Islam.
These efforts, he said, will help to enhance the Islamic financial system in Malaysia and further strengthen our position as a leader in the global Islamic economy. He added that this would also help to boost the growth of environmental, social and corporate governance, or ESG, funds globally. The Premier said that Malaysia has a holistic Islamic finance ecosystem, adding that after the establishment of Bank Islam 40 years ago and Lembaga Tabung Haji 60 years ago, Malaysia's Islamic finance system has been recognized as the world's best by independent analysts.
Government-linked companies, or GLCs, and government-linked investment companies, or GLICs, are expected to drive domestic direct investments, or DDIs, and support the development of local vendors in strategic sectors such as electrical and electronics, or E&E, digital economy, and aerospace. Now, Investment, Trade and Industry, or MITI Minister Tengku Dato Sri Zafrul Abdul Aziz said his ministry is pleased that DDIs will become one of the key performance indicators, or KPIs. Well, the minister said some of the key initiatives announced under the Madani economy that are directly under MITI's purview are the establishment of a special financial zone in Johor to attract global investors and knowledge workers to reside in Malaysia. Well, second, a 100 million ringgit initial allocation for upgrading existing industrial infrastructure to be greener, as well as enhancing human capital development to meet investors' needs. Third, Pulau Pinang will be nurtured to move beyond lower value outsourced semiconductor assembly and test, or OSAT, and to focus more on high-value semiconductor industries. Now, fourth, he said the government will allocate 1 billion ringgit to finance, cultivate and internationalize startups and local SMEs to spur export growth. And fifth, Tengku Dato Sri Zafrul noted the government will also implement state-focused industrial policies to reduce the development gap between developed and underdeveloped states. Well, meanwhile, Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said the Economy Madani, announced by Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, will serve as the main framework for Malaysia to move its economy and people to greater heights. While elaborating further on the matter through a Facebook post, Fahmi said the unity government wants to bring Malaysia to greater heights, especially in the 7 key missions in efforts to achieve the Ekonomi Madani targets. Fahmi said the Ekonomi Madani was not just a short-term initiative, but would serve as a reference for medium and long-term economic plans. He said ultimately, through the implementation of Ekonomi Madani, Malaysia's development will transition towards empowering the rakyat. Ekonomi Madani, an economic framework unveiled by Dato' Sri Anwar today to revitalize Malaysia's economy, will generate benefits which will enable the people to enjoy a better quality of life. Dato' Sri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said the Ekonomi Madani, Memperkasa Rakyat, is a comprehensive plan for Malaysia to tackle various challenges and issues related to the country's competitiveness and attractiveness as an investment destination. It spells out action which can be taken to address current issues affecting the people's lives. The recent prints showing easing inflation and an improving labour market are positive indicators for the Malaysian economy. Now, the Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DOSM, through a statement release, said inflation eased further in June 2023 to its lowest rate in the first half of 2023, marking a new low of 2.4% from 2.8% in May 2023. Additionally, the Malaysian labour market continued to improve in May 2023, with the number of employed persons increasing by 2.4% year-on-year to 16.28 million persons. Now, this was accompanied by an increase in the employment to population ratio, which rose to 67.6% from 66.8% in the previous year. Now, the overall labour force also increased by 2% year-on-year to 16.86 million. Now, as a result, the agency said the labour force participation rate, or LFPR, rose by 0.5 percentage points, reaching 70%, while the unemployment rate saw a decrease of 0.4%, settling at 3.5% in May 2023. Now, it said Malaysia's Industrial Production Index, or IPI, in May 2023 also experienced a significant rebound, showing a positive growth of 4.7%. Now, DOSM said this was a noteworthy improvement compared to the negative 3.3% recorded in the previous month. Meta Platforms on Wednesday reported a strong rise in advertising revenue, topping Wall Street financial targets for the second quarter and forecasting third quarter revenue above market expectations. Now, the results from Meta, which is Facebook's parent company, come a day after a strong performance from Alphabet's Google, and make the case that consumers and the advertisers eager to reach them are spending despite broad economic concerns. Now, still, the company also forecast that expenses would rise in both 2023 and 2024, citing costs, including legal fees and increased spending on infrastructure considered key to the tech sector's feverish AI race. Now, that spending comes after aggressive cost-cutting in other parts of the company, including safety teams and basic business functions. Now, Meta shares were up 7.5% in after-hours trade. Now, Meta Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg said the company continues to see strong engagements across its apps. Well, that's it from us this evening. In our top story, immediate action to tackle online scams. Join us for updates at noon at 12:30 tomorrow on TV2 and MyTV's Berita RTM channel. I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Malaysia Madani, tekad perpaduan, penuhi harapan. Thanks for watching.
Betul-betul menyentuh kepada keperluan rakyat harian.
Malah dalam kerangka